Oh, there you are, YouTube. Doodle 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 doo. Subscribe. All right, number 25. What are we watching today?
Oh, Candyman, the new one.
Oh, awesome.
Ooh.
So if you saw my review of the 1992 Candyman, which was a first-time watch for me, you'll remember that I thought, like my expectations going into the first Candyman, the original Candyman, was that it was going to be like a slasher film, and it didn't end up being that. And it ended up being very Clive Barker in some ways. Very, very like sexualized, very, I don't know, like romantic, I guess. I kept sort of referring or comparing it to Dracula. Very sensual, horny, I guess. And that's how that first movie was. And I was not expecting that. Again, I was expecting like a slasher movie, where this movie, the new one, the 2021 version, or updated sequel, however you want to look at it, sequel, is more of a slasher film. Like it really leans into that more. So we're sort of getting like two different subgenres of horror. You know, we have the romantic gothic with the original one, and then we have the thriller slasher one with the new one. So that was kind of cool to see. I did miss the gothic romance quality that the first one had, because I just remember really digging that and thinking, wow, this is interesting, this is different. I wasn't expecting this at all. I'd like more of this. And it wasn't in this one, so it was a missed quality for me anyway. I was sort of longing for that, wishing it was still there. But in the end, it's still, I think, a good follow-up to the film. And I haven't seen any of the other ones. I think there were maybe two that came after the original one. I haven't seen those, so I don't really know anything about those. I've heard they're not as good. I'd like to go back and see them eventually. But this one, my like biggest gripes with it were sort of the portrayal of the art world, or portrayal of the artist, because our lead character is a painter, and there were a lot of like tropes that were used that are very typical whenever you have an artist in a television show episode or a movie where it's not like about a real artist, where I think you sort of, those movies usually capture artist's inspiration a little bit better, where in movies where it's just like a generic artist, it's like, oh, I'm inspired, I have to paint as fast as I can, and they're like breathing really hard and running back and forth and mixing their paint extra quickly, and it's like, that's not how that works. That's not how inspiration works, where you have to paint as fast as you can to get that inspiration out of you. Maybe it is for some people, but when you see it in shows and movies, it sort of becomes a trope, and from my experience, a very false trope. So that was very weird. The art critic just, being like a snob the whole time, that's old. The art curator, his part actually, so the movie, has a pretty serious tone, just like the original one. But this movie does dip into a little bit of like silly humor, and it's really at the expense of the art curator and his intern girlfriend sort of thing that's going on. And things just get a little bit silly there with him. I don't know. Again, everything art world related just felt very generic, cliche, and not well researched maybe, or I guess because it's just more background stuff in the movie. They aren't trying to maybe necessarily accurately portray that world, and they're just like giving a general essence, because that's not really the point of the movie. So I guess they're doing that for like the general audience. But when you are a painter, then it's just kind of like, oh, this isn't right. This isn't how it is. And I feel like most people, whoever, if you're in a profession and then you watch a movie about that profession, or maybe not about that profession because usually they are researching it, but when that profession like comes up in the background or something like that, it's always like, oh man, they're not doing that right. They're not doing that right. Like hospital scenes, things like that. You know, I have family members that are doctors that are just kind of like, nope, that's not what we would have done, or that's not how that happens. That is definitely incorrect. So that's it. Those are my gripes. It's just me being an artist and seeing an artist portrayed very trope-like, very generic, and stereotypes and things like that. It was just kind of like, I don't know, not as accurate as it could have been. But if that's my only gripe, I think that's pretty good, because common, you know, the common viewers who are not painters or visual artists are gonna, you know, not catch any of that stuff, I wouldn't think. Maybe they would, I don't know. But I did like how this movie sort of transforms Candyman's purpose. And this was something that me and my wife talked about. I may have even mentioned it in my previous video when I was reviewing the first film. How it's interesting how Candyman isn't, this might get into spoilers, isn't like a superhero of Cabrini-Green. Because you, like, why is he killing all these innocent people? You think he would be more like a superhero and like trying to save people. And that's what's cool about this one, is you sort of learn about the baby's purpose in the original movie and what Candyman was trying to do. As long as I'm interpreting this correctly anyway, like he had a higher purpose for this baby, and then this baby is grown up in this movie and then sort of transforms into this superhero version of Candyman, which I thought was pretty cool. If I interpreted that right. Anyway, that's sort of how I understood it. So that was kind of cool, and I'd like to see more movies with this, where it seems like he's sort of like an Avenger in a way. Could be kind of cool. But anyway, yeah, I think it's a good one. I did miss all the gothic romance quality, that sensualness that the first one had. Didn't really exist in this one at all. Zero sexuality at all happening in this. So, I don't know, in that sense it was very bland, and that's what I walked away really loving with the first one. But this one's a little more slashery. But otherwise, good, and perhaps I'll see you tomorrow for more Pure Hangout.
Subscribe.